Welcome to Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. My name is Brandon Bornancin, a serial salesperson and entrepreneur, and I'm sitting down with the world's best sales experts to share their top secrets to sales success. Hello and welcome to this episode of Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. And I am thrilled, honored, humbled, and grateful to have with me today Dave Kurlan. Dave is a guy I've been following forever. He's a top speaker, best-selling author, radio show host, successful entrepreneur, and sales development industry pioneer. He's the author, you've probably read a bunch of his books, of Mindless Selling, Understanding the Sales Force, and the bestseller Baseline Selling, How to Become a Sales Superstar by Using What You Already Know About the Game of Baseball. He was inducted into the Sales and Marketing Hall of Fame recently. He's the founder and CEO of Objective Management Group, which is an industry leader in sales assessments and Salesforce evaluations, and was named the top sales assessment tool for the past decade. Dave is also the CEO of Kurlan Associates. His two companies have appeared several times on the Inc. 5000. Dave, I don't know what you haven't done or what you haven't accomplished. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for thinking of me, and thanks for inviting me to your show.
Awesome, man. Well, we're thrilled to have you.
I can't believe I've done all that stuff you just talked about.
I mean, it's amazing, and I want to know like how you do all of that, which we'll get into. That too. Right? But the audience is dying to know two core things. Number one, sales secrets from the top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. What is your top sales secret? Don't tell us right now. That's number one, the top thing that we got to cover. Before that, the audience wants to know, I've been getting questions, chats, calls, emails, people hitting the book website, asking things like they're dying to know, who is Dave Kurlan? Where'd you come from? What's your background? How'd you get started in sales? Where have you worked? And then what are the micro secrets that you've learned from every place that you've worked, from your successes and from your failures and learning opportunities that helped you level up from the one next place to the next place you sold to the next place you sold to, and then obviously leading up to your success of where you're at today, which will lead to the top sales secret. So, let's start from the beginning, my man. Thank you for joining us from Boston, by the way. This guy's office is awesome. Can you show the crew real quick? I love
Sure.
Are you a big Michael? Are those Michael Jordan in the background?
It's mostly Red Sox, a little bit of Patriots, a little bit of Celtics, but mostly a combination of Red Sox and my own son.
That's
who's
amazing.
A baseball stud.
I love that you've got all the baseball and the Hall of Fame photography and signature stuff. I'm a huge Tom Brady fan, so I study him.
We'll see if he's got one more left in him.
Dude's a champion. Whether he's got it left in him or not, he's a champion.
If he was in sales, he'd be in that top 1%.
Top 1% of the top 1%, like hands down.
Because you asked what some of those micro secrets are.
Yeah,
and I think back to how I got into sales.
Okay, yeah. How'd you get into sales?
I was failing in college. So this is back in 1970, probably 1973.
Yeah,
I was
failing like 3 years ago.
I was thinking that it was time to quit. I needed something to do, and I had to find a job. The only job I'd had up until that point was doing tennis court maintenance.
Okay.
And I went on this job interview, which ended up being a recruiting class to sell Cutco knives.
Wow, the Cutcos.
I was naturally antisocial, afraid of people, petrified of people.
It's crazy.
Not just prefer not to be with people. I mean, if I were ever at an event with people, I'd be in the corner, hoping nobody came up and spoke to me. So I walked out of the room at the end of the little recruiting event, positive that I was the worst possible fit for that. And as I headed down the stairs, the first micro secret kicked in.
Okay.
And that was a voice inside of me made me turn myself around and go in and force myself to do what I didn't want to do, which was take the job selling knives.
Wow. So you were super scared, didn't want to do it. Like, why do you think, where did that voice come from, man?
Well, the voice talks to me now and then. As long as you're not stressed and worried and all about yourself, the voice will come through, whether it's the voice of God or it's imaginary or it's the universe. The voice comes through, and that voice has come through at some powerful moments in my life. But this isn't about the voice. This is about doing what I didn't want to do. And if I look back at that and compare it to some other people, back in the 1950s, there was an insurance executive named Albert Gray.
Okay.
And at a speech at an insurance industry function, he said, the difference between sales winners and everybody else is that the sales winners do the things they don't want to do, and everybody else doesn't. And insurance industry again, Art Williams in the 1987 speech. Almost the same thing. He said, what's the difference between the $500,000 earners and the $50,000 earners? The $500,000 earners, they just do it.
Wow.
And so that was
powerful.
The first example, without me being influenced or exposed to either of those guys at that point in time. That was the first instance that I consciously remember where I forced myself to do what I didn't want to do because I thought I had to.
Just had to do it. And then it sounds like, which is crazy because that was the start probably of your sales career, right?
That was it.
You got interviewed and go ahead.
And everybody's been exposed to that sell Cutco knives thing when they were in school. And
knives are encyclopedias like Southwestern vacuum cleaners. Yep, totally.
Yeah. And most college kids who are going to school locally can call on all their parents' friends and survive a week before they quit. Most college kids who are away from home and don't have anybody to call on quit after 3 days. And I managed to hang in there for 3 years.
Dude.
And
selling the knives?
Selling knives. Door
to door, right?
I was so good at selling knives that I was a sales manager within 3 months.
Holy cow, dude.
And that's when I decided I wanted to be in this business. I was 18, managing, recruiting and managing people who were a lot older than me. And didn't know what the hell I was doing. But whatever it was working because the people I was recruiting weren't turning over. Okay. And they were actually having success and they were responding to me. So I thought maybe I'd be good at something like this. Maybe I could make a career out of something like this, but I was 12 years away. So I set a goal at that time, another micro secret, goal setting. I set a goal when I was 18 that by the time I was 30, I would be in some kind of sales consulting business.
Oh, really? So you knew at the age of 18 that you wanted to kind of be a sales expert?
Yeah, it wasn't.
After the 3 months? So you only sold knives for 3 months, 90 days, and you're like, hey, yeah, I want to do this professionally one day and be an expert consultant.
Yeah.
That's nuts, man. I was not thinking that when I was 18. And before we even get there, so you get the job. You've never sold before. They give you the job for the Cutco knives.
Well, they would have given the job to anybody. I wasn't special enough that I got the job. They would beg you to take the job.
Got it. So okay, that's good to know for the audience. And then but what made you so successful that they promoted you into management there? What did you do differently? What were the secrets that you did differently or things that you did that made you successful to get promoted so fast at such a young age? As
Art Williams would have said, I just did it.
Just executed.
Just executed. Another micro secret. I was lucky enough at one point to be working for a veteran wherever aluminum sales peddler. His name was Bob Jagir, and he was probably in his 60s.
When you say sales peddler, like a serial salesperson, or what does that mean?
He was a peddler. He was selling pots and pans and knives door to door as a career. His entire career. So yeah, peddler. He was the original door to door guy. Wow. And I had the opportunity to work with him for 2 years. And they don't teach you how to sell. They teach you how to follow a script. They teach you how to demo. And, if you do it enough, you're going to bump into people who are going to want what you have. But he taught me how to sell. And a lot of what I teach people to do today has its roots in what I learned from him in 1974. Because he was way ahead of his time. Wow. Way ahead of his time.
And that was probably, I know you kind of indirectly said this, but would another micro secret be find that mentor who's been super successful? Because that guy, what was his name? Ari or
Bob Jagir.
Bob Jagir. Yeah. So Bob Jagir, it sounds like he was an expert, and you just at a super young age, like just decided to follow this guy because
I've got a story about him in my book, Baseline Selling.
Yep.
And I don't know if you actually read the book or you just read the promo for the book.
Yeah, I've read the promo. I haven't read the full book yet.
Best story in the book is a story about a sales call I went on with him. And I can tell the story if we have time.
Yeah, dude, tell the Cliff Notes story real quick. I love it.
Okay, so the prime customer for a set of knives was a girl who graduated from high school and didn't go to college. She went to work and back then they called it hope chesting, saving up for when she got married. And so we walked into this tenement apartment. And that was kind of culture shock for me all by itself, because I grew up in an upper middle class family and only knew single family homes. And now we're walking into a place that's got a tiny kitchen with a metal table and 2 bedrooms and a tiny family room with, furniture that's falling apart and sagging. It was just scary to me.
Yeah.
And so the girl's there. She's probably my age, 18 years old, and her mom is there. And Bob starts his sales call without the samples and without talking about knives. And he just starts asking her about her and her plans and what she's doing,
sales
and what she's planning for, and had she started hope chesting, and what did she have? And never really talked about knives. And at one point, her boyfriend showed up and got pissed. He saw someone her age at the table. That was me.
Oh, wow.
And he saw Bob, and he had a fit. He threw a temper tantrum. What are these guys doing here? And the mom asked the boy to leave, and he said no. And she said, come on, just give us this time. And he said no, and he started bullying her. And Bob says, you know what, Mom? All these boys want is to get into your little girl's panties.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh, God, this isn't going to go well.
Yeah, that's aggressive. That's like really aggressive.
Mom turned around and said, you're right, Bob. And then she turned and looked at her daughter, and her daughter said, yep, you're right, Bob. And she said, get out of here. So he left. And then Mom looks at Bob and says, whatever it is you're selling, we'll take 2 sets. Never pulled them out.
What?
Demoed them. They were $150 each, which in today's money would be about $600 each. And this was a mother-daughter that seemed to have nothing. And he said, don't you want to put on some cookies and some coffee first? And she said, that's a great idea. Come with me and we'll get the money. And she marches him into her bedroom and pulls up the mattress and takes the cash out from under the mattress. Hello. And that was the best-selling lesson of my life.
Wow.
It was all about
2 sets.
You don't have to demo anything. You don't have to present anything. And you don't have to show anything or propose anything or quote anything. You just have to make people want to buy from you.
Wow. And he did that by the discovery and the caring and the value that He just cared about her.
And he said the thing that everybody else would have been scared to say. That outrageous comment he made to Mom.
Yeah. Interesting. That's incredible.
Another micro secret.
Huge micro secret. Okay, so was that why you were so successful? And I know I'm taking a little bit more time on this, but like
your show, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, no. But were you super successful at the Cutco things because of the mentor? I mean, obviously you said show up and like work hard and do that every day.
I remember the days that I was sitting on a staircase sulking that I didn't have any business and that I had nothing in the pipeline and I had no prospects and no leads. I remember feeling sorry for myself and making a big deal about that. And I remember another boss kicking me in the ass and said, quit, go away. You got to do one or the other. I'm not going to let you sit around, feel sorry for yourself. Either go away or go out and knock on a door. But we're not going to do what you're doing. And that was another example of just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
That's great, man.
In the end, who's going to be more successful? The great closer that has nothing in the pipeline, or the person who's got a stuffed pipeline but isn't a very good closer? I'm going to be the person with the stuffed pipeline.
Always.
Because even though they suck, there's something's going to hit. Yeah. And when you can do both, when you can stuff your pipeline and I hate to say be a good closer because closing is way overrated. It's never about closing. It's all about the things that happen before closing.
Love that. That's it. Yeah. You want to have the both, right? And I think people think closing is like a bad word. It's like you close the deal when you did all the things that you should have done on the deal.
Yeah, if you're effective filling the pipeline and you can build a relationship and you can take a consultative approach and you can sell value and you can thoroughly qualify and you present the right things to the right people at the right time for the right reason, the business will close. You don't have to do anything.
Boom. Bomb drop, dude, right there. There's the mic drop, man. I love it. Like, boom, 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 boom. It sounds like those are all the little secrets. That's amazing. I completely agree. Like that was the perfect summation of the perfect sale. So you crush the.
I didn't crush it, but I did better than everyone else.
Well, I would call that crushing. Like you performed better than everyone else, which is awesome. And it sounds like you learned a lot from that guy, the peddler. That was the first time I ever heard that word. I like that. Pots and pans, man. Crazy.
He was literally the guy when the lady would open the door, he'd stick his foot in the door so that she couldn't close it on him, take his sunglasses off at just the right time and smile. I mean, literally.
Was he super effective? Peddler. Like, was he like great at that or was he okay?
He was great at that.
Yeah. Yeah. So he knew how to work it. Okay. So Cutco, what's next after that? Why'd you decide to leave that? What did you do next?
I think 3 years was plenty. I'd always wanted to have a music business.
Oh, so cool. What type of music?
So at 20, I said, it's time. So I opened a music business, sold musical instruments and equipment.
Cool. Were you always into music? Like what made you decide to get into that? That's so random.
I was a musician.
Dude, what'd you play?
That's what I wanted to do at the time. I wanted a music business. So I figured 10 years and that would prepare me for what came next. So the only thing that was different was even though it was a retail business, I had a direct sales force. So we went out and called on schools and nightclubs and churches.
So smart. So instead of waiting there,
I couldn't bear to wait for people to come in, especially early on when
there's no traffic.
No.
So you literally you took what you learned at Cutco and applied it to a music retail store.
Right.
What did you play, by the way? Like what instrument?
I grew up a trumpet player.
That's awesome. I played trumpet too when I was a kid.
If you're in that business, you've got to be able to play everything. So
learned everything?
For 15 to 20 seconds, I could fool anybody on any instrument.
That's awesome. And they didn't have like the YouTube back then. So
no.
Would you have to how do you learn every instrument? I have no idea.
You figure it out. Early on when nobody's walking in, you learn the instruments.
That's funny. And okay, so you would literally prospect businesses to get them to buy your musical instruments. Anything that you learned throughout that? How long did you do that experience, and what did you learn from doing that?
Did that for 10 years.
Dude, that's a long time.
Yeah. And I learned that if you didn't treat retail like retail, in other words, I used the phone and made calls to get people in. We called customers and told them when a certain kind of instrument came in, told them when we had a certain kind of promotion going on.
So smart. I never see retailers doing
no, and when
I never get a call from a retailer.
When they came in, we did sales calls on them. We didn't just say, what are you looking for, and show it to them. We asked, so why'd you come in today? And what are you looking for? And how come? And what got you interested in that? And what do you have now? And why are you looking to make a change? So we did it as if we were selling $20,000 things instead of $200 things.
Wow. That's incredible. And then applying the game of sales to musical retail. I mean, that's the first story I've ever heard of that.
A lot of firsts.
Yeah, a lot of firsts.
Probably the first panty story you heard too.
Yeah, for sure. These are all great. So you did that for a decade. What made you decide to okay, I need to do something
8 years in, I was getting antsy. I was ready.
Like getting a little bored, getting ready for something new?
Yeah, and when you're in retail, you work for everybody but yourself. You're working for the manufacturers and the distributors, and you're working for the employees and the customers, and you're not making any money. It's retail. You only have one location.
That's tough.
So I was ready, and I honed my craft in unusual ways, and I was ready to do some B2B sales development stuff.
Probably kind of sick of doing the B2C, right?
Yeah.
And well, you were doing B2B to C.
Yeah, you could say that.
Because you were calling on the schools, you were calling on these businesses to sell them consumer products, dude.
Right.
Oh my gosh, you were doing B2B to C, which is really hard. Without the internet, there was no internet.
No internet,
right?
no.
Oh my gosh, it's got to be exhausting. I love how easy sales is now compared to when you had to do B2B to C selling for your musical instruments.
I think selling's harder now.
Okay.
Because there's a lot more competition. You don't have to be local to compete.
True.
And there's a lot more pressure on price than there ever was before. And prospects are very difficult to reach, which didn't used to be a problem. So even though we have all these additional tools today, we have all these additional methods of reaching people, and we can reach the masses more easily. Connecting with a person and getting something started is more difficult than ever.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. I think what I love about today is the data. So getting the data, we develop the world's best sales leads. So for us, we know everyone, right? So getting the data with the internet, with Seamless, with anything out there, it's so cool that you have all your prospects easily. Unlike before, I don't know what I would do without the internet. I don't even know.
We live it and breathe it. It's ingrained in what we do every minute of the day.
Yeah.
And that the technology is great because it, in our world, it allows us to do things we were never able to do before. Yeah. If I wanted to do an hour or 2 hours of training with a client, I'd have to go there or they'd have to come here and we'd eat up a day and a half. And now we can do it just like this with movies and whiteboards and chat and make it rich and entertaining and fast paced and do the same things we would have done in a classroom, do a lot of role playing, but nobody has to eat up more than an hour or 2 hours at a time.
Yeah, it's so smart the way that we're able to do it now. So you're right. You got the B2B selling itch. What'd you do? How did you evaluate the market on where you wanted to go? What did you decide on?
Evaluate the market. I had been wanting to do this for 10 years now. So it just came time. Sold the business, started my, back then, sales training company, Kurlan Associates, 1985, October.
You fulfilled your dream. How old were you when you started it?
30.
No, you hit the goal?
Yeah.
The
I
vision.
actually beat it by 3 weeks.
The vision and the goal that you set when you were 18.
Yep.
Did you write that goal down on paper?
No.
You just knew, you told yourself, by the time I'm 30, I'm launching this consulting company. And you never forgot that dream or that goal.
It was always there.
Wow, dude. I mean, I think about all the goals that I believe in. Like one of my goals was writing the book, and it's cool to see it come to reality. But like, I don't know. But when I was 18, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to be a lawyer when I was 18, and then I went into sales.
A noble profession.
Yeah, because no one teaches you sales is the greatest profession in the world, unfortunately. But damn, I can't believe like so you fulfilled it. You're like, you still had that drive, that inspiration in you. You never forgot it. There's not a lot of people that set a goal at 18, like, and then do something different, and then you get it done. That's incredible. So you launch your own company, consulting company, and then what was it focused on?
Back then, train anybody who was willing to pay to get trained.
on B2B selling?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have to come up, like, how do you launch that? Like, did you have to come up with like frameworks and guides and playbooks and audio tapes? Like, what do you do?
Back in 1985, I bought a franchise. I bought a Sandler franchise.
Perfect. So they had the framework.
Turnkey.
That's probably the best way to do it at that time.
Yep.
Awesome. And Sandler back then, was it number one, like in 1985?
No, I was the 17th franchise.
Well, who'd you compete with back then?
Nobody. Dale Carnegie.
Okay. Dale Carnegie.
Carnegie
or Sandler?
Independence. There was no competition.
That's awesome.
Now there's thousands of us out there, but
anyone can be a consultant now with the on-demand internet, which probably fits into why you think selling is tough, right? Anyone can do it now. Not well though, right? That's
right.
Not like Dave Kurlan, but I'm just saying anyone with a video camera. Okay, so you purchased the franchise. Was it expensive to buy or no?
Not then. Not back then. No.
So you got in early, number 17. And were you in Boston? And by the way, guys, I don't know if you see it. I'm a huge Tom Brady fan. Dave's got the spinning Patriots helmet. He's got and Dave wrote Baseline Selling, How to Become a Sales Superstar by using what you already know about the game of baseball, which I want to get into. So he's got a ton of baseball gear everywhere. Where did you open up this Sandler training place?
I was in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Okay. So tell us about that, man.
There's not much to tell. That went fine for 5 years, and then I started Objective Management Group, the assessment company. And we got in a fight. The David Sandler at the time didn't think much of the assessment company, thought that we were competing for the same money. So we fought for a few years. I left, started, got OMG. Management Group running.
So hold on, you're Dave Sandler. So you're literally working with Dave Sandler.
I was.
And you guys, so you were working for him with the franchise, and you wanted to push more assessment products or create your own?
Started the assessment company and
on the side. So you were doing both, probably, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's smart. And he felt like it was competing for Sandler money.
Yes.
Interesting. And just so the audience knows, because some people are younger in the sales audience, when you say assessment, what does that mean? Like, what is that?
Well, OMG has a Salesforce evaluation. So we go in and look at it's all done online now, but we look at the people, the systems, the strategies of the sales organization and report back all of the issues and challenges and strengths and weaknesses and gaps and recommendations about what needs to change in order to grow revenue. And on the pre-hiring side, we assess candidates. And what we're measuring are basically 21 sales core competencies.
Wow.
And it's customized so that it fits the selling role at the company. And then we're able to show a company which candidates are the best fit and would likely to be most successful in the role.
That's amazing.
We've assessed, at this point, we've assessed 1.8 million salespeople.
Holy cow.
27,000 companies in 47 countries and 200 industries.
1.8 million salespeople.
That's how big our data warehouse is.
That's insane, man. You've gotten to assess, learn, analyze, and optimize from a lot of salespeople. That's more salespeople than I've analyzed for sure. What are the 21 characteristics? We got
21 sales core competencies.
Yeah, dude, this is like, there's
okay, so there's 4 categories. So the first one, we call it will to sell. A popular word right now is grit. Angela Duckworth wrote the book Grit. So will to sell includes desire, how badly you want to succeed, and commitment, your willingness to do it. Outlook, how you feel about what you're doing. Responsibility, whether you take responsibility or make excuses. And motivation.
I love
how motivated and what kind of motivation. So that's the first 5.
Hold on. So the 5, just to review real quick. So you say
grit would be the category.
Grit would be the category. And then just real quick again. Desire. Commitment.
Outlook.
And is outlook like positive or negative?
Yeah.
Got it.
Attitude. Responsibility. And motivation.
Oh man. I have no idea how you assess all of those. Like
that's a core competency. Our ability to measure that stuff.
How do you even, because like I feel like I've got a high depth or high aptitude for all of those things because I've just had a lot of success and failure and I never want to fail again. So I'm highly motivated and positive and all of these things, right? But like I don't know how to assess. Salespeople are the greatest interviewers in the world at selling themselves.
Right.
We're the best at selling ourselves.
That's right.
And you could trick people that interview. Like you've interviewed.
If you're personable enough and if you're confident enough.
Exactly. So how do you know if someone's like saying, yeah, I'm highly motivated. Yeah, I'm highly positive. Yeah, I've got grit.
I can't give away those trade secrets. That's our core competency. That's what we're good at.
So you got to hire Dave to get the how. You know what? To get the how, you got to give Dave Kurlan a call.
Right. So the next 6 are sales DNA.
Okay.
Sales DNA is the combination of strengths that will support sales process, sales strategy, and sales tactics. Okay. So even if you know what to do, you're only able to execute if you have strong sales DNA. So inside of sales DNA are things like whether or not you need to be liked, whether or not you can stay in the moment and control your thinking.
Okay.
That's emotions. Whether you have a supportive, what we call buy cycle. The way you buy has a direct correlation to the stalls, excuses, and put-offs that salespeople will tolerate from their prospects. Nice. That's whether or not you think it over, shop around, look for the lowest price, do a lot of research, think a small amount of money is a lot of money. That all fits into the category of buy cycle. Whether you're comfortable talking about money,
okay, and
whether you have supportive beliefs, the beliefs support positive outcomes, and whether you are rejection proof.
Nice. And that's the 6 categories or 6 pillars that make up the sales DNA.
Right. And then we have the tactical competencies, which you'd be more familiar with. That's hunting, relationship building, consultative selling, value selling, qualifying, presentation approach, and closing. And then there are 3 that are more systems and processes like sales process, CRM savvy, and mastery of social selling.
Okay. So you said there's 4 competencies. Hold on, that 3rd competency though. Go back through the 3rd again real quick.
The 4th category or the 3rd category?
3rd. So after the one after the sales DNA, you flew through just real quick.
3rd category, tactical selling competencies.
Okay. And those are the like the methodologies of how to sell. You said the challenger sale. What else?
I didn't say challenger, but we can talk about that if you want to.
I'm sorry, you said consultative, right?
Yeah. Hunter, consultative, value, qualifying, presentation approach, closing.
Yeah. Okay. So all the different tactical ways to sell. And then that 4th one were like the channels, it sounds like.
Sales process, whether you follow an effective sales process, CRM savvy, and mastery of social selling.
Okay.
And that's 21.
Holy cow, man. I love that you've got this. You know, I think a lot of companies and a lot of salespeople, you know, even me, like my company, how important is it to use an assessment tool or platform like the one that you've built you've looked at 1.8 million salespeople, right? So how important is that versus not like just interviewing and hiring? Like, what has been the outcome of like, give me the weight loss commercial.
This is easy.
Before and after.
Most companies that hire salespeople have a track record that would suggest it's hit or miss, mostly miss.
Right. They say, oh, I hire a bunch of salespeople. It's hit or miss.
Right.
Yeah.
So when companies use OMG, of the people we don't recommend, it literally says not recommended, and they hire them anyhow because they like them. 75% fail within 6 months. That's pretty strong empirical data. And on the other side, the flip side of the people we recommend, it literally says recommended, and they do their due diligence and end up hiring them. 92% rise to the top half of the sales force within a year.
Wow, dude. Wow. 92%.
Compelling empirical data.
Holy cow. 92% are successful, the ones that you recommend. 75%, the ones that you say do not hire, fail within the first 6 months. That's high, 3/4.
And we're the only assessment that uses predictive validity. So most people aren't familiar with the different forms of validation.
I was going to say, what does that mean?
It goes from, in order to be EEOC compliant, an assessment has to be validated.
I was about to say, what is EEOC compliance?
The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission.
Yeah, that's what my ops officer and my legal team deal with. Got it.
Yeah,
I don't deal with any of that.
So the lamest form of validation is what they call face validity. That's you look at the questions that are being asked and you say, oh, based on these questions, this appears to be consistent with what they say they are measuring. And then in the middle, there's something called construct validity, where they look at the findings and they say, oh, these findings suggest that they're consistent with what the test purports to be measuring. And then at the far end of the spectrum is predictive validity, where there needs to be evidence that the findings correlate to on-the-job performance.
Okay. Wow.
Most assessments, almost every assessment other than ours, is based on either personality or behavior. So there will never be a correlation between a finding and an on-the-job performance. Since ours is sales, we have the ability to make that connection.
The data, right?
Yeah, and we're in the middle of a new validation study right now, and it's 91%. 91% correlation between the findings and on-the-job performance.
Holy cow. And this is going to probably be what a lot of people ask you. Now, and actually, this deals directly with the book, The Top Sales Secrets. What are the 3 out of the 21 that are the most important? I mean, you got to stack rank everything in life. There's I believe in wholeheartedly the Pareto's law, 20% drive 80%.
Let me put it this way.
Okay.
The single most important skill in selling.
That's honestly, if we only do one secret, what is that? Go for it.
Listening. Because you can't ask a good, tough, timely question unless you're listening. And it requires good, tough, timely questions to uncover prospects' compelling reason to buy. And without uncovering a compelling reason to buy, you can't create urgency. And if you don't create urgency, you can only get a prospect as far as, this is nice to have, and not to, I must have this, and I must get it from you. So at the bottom of all that is listening skills. And that's the thing that most sales books and sales videos and sales audios and sales trainers and sales consultants and sales coaches don't teach. Listening. So we went at Kurlan Associates, we spend half of our efforts in training, teaching salespeople how to listen and stop skipping ahead. However, that's not the most important thing, because if you don't have strong will to sell, those first 5, you won't, that's the do whatever it takes stuff. You won't learn and you won't change and you won't develop those listening skills. So even though from a tactical standpoint and a skill perspective, listening is most important, if you don't have strong desire and commitment, it's not going to happen. And in order to support the listening skills, sales DNA, if you can't control your emotions and stay in the moment, you won't hear a thing. And to ask the follow-up question, you can't have a need to be liked, because if you need to be liked, you'll be afraid to ask the next question for fear that it'll piss the person off. So from a tactical standpoint, listening and questioning are the two, but you need strong sales DNA to support that. And if you don't have all of that in place and you don't have strong will to sell, you won't be able to make the changes required to develop those abilities. There you have it.
Unbelievable. Holy cow, man. I feel like a lot of people are going to be buying these assessments from you after they watch this episode, dude.
A lot of people already are.
1.8. How did you? Wow.
We didn't start yesterday.
And right. No, I know. You've bit doing it a little bit of time. Since when again? When did you start?
1990 on the assessments.
1990. Because you left Sandler from 1985 to 1990?
Left Sandler in 1991.
91. Oh, man, that's so cool that you got in a fight with Dave Sandler. I love that. Is he, I'm sure you learned a lot from that. But so that first core competency, the grit that you say, I completely agree, because you can kind of learn the other competencies if you have the first set, right?
The 6 tactical selling competencies can be taught in a day. Can't be mastered in a day, but they can be taught in a day. And you can master them over a period of weeks and months, but you can't do it, can't execute unless you have the sales DNA to support it. And you won't hang in long enough to do the things that are uncomfortable and change your sales DNA if you don't have the grit.
That makes total sense. Wow. And you said they could be learned in a day. Which one? The last group or all of them?
Yeah, that group too. And you could teach hunting through social selling mastery in a day. Okay. And that's knowledge, but it doesn't change anybody.
Right.
That's why the best sales training firms provide reinforcement and repetition and in our case, tons of role playing. It's only through role play that salespeople get a constant diet of what that conversation needs to sound like.
So, and that sounds like that's another micro secret. So not only hiring for these these values, these traits, these characteristics, and figuring out how can you assess them and hire for them. You could hire Dave or come up with your own methodology. But the role playing sounds like a micro secret from you.
Certainly a micro secret of training success. And certainly I would recommend every salesperson we train, we're encouraging them to role play with a colleague 30 minutes a day, because they just got to hear those words rolling off their tongue, and they've got to be prepared for any kind of a situation to be able to ask a follow-up question. And you can't learn it when you're selling. You have to learn it when you're not selling.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. And I know a lot of organizations, like when I was selling for IPM Interactive, multi-million-dollar deals, we were not doing role playing. Like never. We were never doing role playing. When I went and started selling for Google, we did a bunch of role playing, but very little. Like it was like infrequent, like once a month or once a quarter. I am a huge fan. I agree with you. You gave out another micro secret. Not only is it important to do role playing, but you have to do it 30 minutes a day. How did you come up with the importance of role playing, and then B, the frequency of how often you needed to do it?
Well, it became clear pretty early on that most trainers can't do the role playing. Role playing is the ability to drop yourself into any selling situation in any stage of the sales process, selling any product or service to any particular prospect, and put the salesperson in the prospect's role and take on the salesperson's role and take over the sales call. Most trainers aren't willing to put themselves in that situation. So we learned that when we do that, we have salespeople's 100% attention. The salespeople are trying to trip us up, trying to stump us, trying to catch us. They can't. We can turn their words against them and show them what they're supposed to be able to do when they're selling. So that allows us to model interactions and communications and conversations.
Yep.
Because if a sales process is, these are the stages and these are the steps that you follow to get from stage to stage, then methodology is, these are the kinds of conversations that you need to have to move from step to step and stage to stage.
Wow. And when you say you get dropped in, like, do you mean like the trainer would be the person that they would sell to? Or do you mean you would sell to the
We take over the selling role and they take over the role of the prospect and demonstrate what that conversation needs to sound like. So
even without knowing anything about the product,
right.
Like, so you could go into any organization and sell anything to anyone
better than they can.
Holy cow. How?
Because we don't know anything about the product.
Oh, there's another secret, dude.
We can't default to talking points. We can't default to features and
benefits, right?
The only thing we can do is ask another question.
Or ask discovery and sell value, right?
That's right.
Because you don't know any of the bullshit that they shove down your throat.
On purpose, we don't know.
Dude, oh my gosh, that's so smart. That's so true.
To get them to forget what they know. Just clear your heads. You don't need to know anything about what you're selling. Please don't remember what it is that you're selling.
Yep.
And with a clear mind and no need to offer up talking points and benefits, you can listen and ask questions.
Crazy. Okay. I can't believe, it's so funny. I totally get it. Like you're not with any of that jazz. So you've been running out of the 1.8 million, you already said that the most successful out of the 1.8 million that you've assessed in sales have the grit category.
Keep in mind, you could look at people in the bottom 50% and they could also have grit.
Interesting.
But they probably have very weak sales DNA.
Got it. So the other core competencies they didn't have as much grit to master the other competencies.
In the introduction, you mentioned my award-winning blog, which is Understanding the Salesforce.
Yeah.
The URL is OMG for objectivemanagementgroup.com. And there are 21 articles I've written just in the last 6 months that illustrate the differences between top salespeople and bottom salespeople using data from our 1.8 million salespeople and the 21 sales core competencies.
I love that.
So it's really cool reading because all the stats are laid out there and you can see on the blog side-by-side comparisons.
That's awesome. And I want to touch a little bit on baseline selling and mindless selling because that's always good. But before we do that, so the 1.8 million, right? How did you go? Like, what's the secret that you did to go from, dude, I just left Sandler and I'm going to launch an assessment company. Why did you decide assessments? Like maybe it was just because you were passionate. Like I'm curious to hear, why did you do assessments? And then how did you go from launching that company in 1990 to still being in business today? What were any of the successes or failures, the micro secrets that you had along the way? Because like we're talking about the great assessments and like what architects that. But I want to know, how did Dave become this rock star sales expert where he supported assessing over 1.8 million? How many people did you have to sell to get to 1.8 million? How did you sell it? You know what I mean? Like what did you do to even get to where you're at today?
Built a network of certified OMG experts that would go out and do the selling.
So you leveraged the Sandler approach, almost like a franchise kind of thing.
Definitely not a franchise.
Channel.
A channel. That's
an affiliate.
Yeah,
I was a
channel. They need to be licensed and they pay fees for that license. And they pay when they have assessments processed. But we've partnered with about 135 sales development firms around the world who have exclusive access to our assessments. So they've built the business. We've just selected them and trained them and coached them.
Wow. And did you know that that was the model that you were going to do in 1990?
No. I didn't know anything in 1990. I knew that one of my core competencies was being able to write questions that would allow us to measure these things. And this has been a moving target over 30 years. We didn't start with these 21 sales core competencies. These have evolved as selling has changed and as my understanding has changed and as our research has evolved. The company's evolved. It's been fun. It's been an evolution.
Okay. So what was the biggest success and the biggest failure of building the company? Because we got to get into your secret right after that. But there's no rush because we don't care how long this goes, especially if it delivers value. What was your biggest success and biggest failure? And you and I both know failure is a learning opportunity, but I say it just as failure because everyone fails at something. With running, OMG and Kurlan and Associates.
The biggest failure, I think, was in the economic crisis of 2008 when the spigot shut off. That wasn't a recession. That was a depression. And the first thing that happened that affected us was companies stopped hiring. So we lost a third of our business overnight.
33% gone.
Right.
Brutal.
So that was a huge hit. And around the same time, we were in the process of turning over our network of certified experts. We were cleaning house. And so the new ones weren't mature enough to be contributing yet. And some of the contributors were out the door. So it was a perfect storm.
So you lose a bunch of the...
So we weren't prepared for what an economic downturn would cause. And we weren't prepared for what a house cleaning would cause if the economy didn't continue on the way it was.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like the perfect storm.
So I've built this business twice.
One before the crash and one after.
Yes.
How did you fight through, what'd you do to get through that? You lose 1/3 of the business.
I quoted Art Williams earlier. Just do it.
Just do it. Like you don't get stressed. You don't freak out. You just just do it. Figure it out.
What do we have to do? We got to build sales again. We need new partners again. So let's go find them. Let's get them trained. Let's get them coached, and let's do it fast.
Dude, if a guy can run a musical store and prospect and sell musical instruments, I'm sure when the economic crash occurred, it was interesting. So you said the number one thing you had to drive pipeline and sales. So get on that. And then you had to bring on more affiliates and channel partners to sell the assessments. And that's also prospecting. You're just prospecting different people.
Right.
Everything in life is prospecting.
All about finding the people who can do what you need them to do, whether that's evangelizing on your behalf or giving you their money.
Wow.
Or making a commitment to do something for you or working together with you. It's all the same.
I love that. And I want to get into the secret, but just real quick, because you've written some great books. Mindless Selling.
Mindless Selling was a fair book. That was my first book. It was fair. Had good stuff in it, but it wasn't that well written.
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Like, you know what I mean? Like you got to get started somewhere. But baseline selling.
That was a great book. And
can you talk about how to be
relevant almost 15 years later?
Like how to become a sales superstar using what you know already about baseball. Like just so the audience, because they're going to want to pick up these books. Like quickly, can you just give a Twitter tweet about what is baseline selling, understanding the sales force, and mindless selling? The 3 books you wrote.
Or mindless selling is all about controlling your emotions, keeping your head clear so that you can listen and ask questions, having the right kinds of beliefs. Baseline selling is about sales process using the baseball diamond as a metaphor for sales process. So the 4 stages of the pipeline: first, second, third, home, are suspect, prospect, qualified, and closed. And the methodology uses some baseball terms for milestones in the sales process. And there are some great examples and great stories and great illustrations of how the sales process ought to work, and completely relevant for selling in 2019. The only thing that's really changed since I wrote the book is the advent of social selling. So that's extra tools that have come
more tech
come available that weren't there when I wrote the book. But the rest of it is perfect. And understanding the sales force is my solution to not being able to write another book. When I learned about blogging, in 2006.
That's hilarious.
And at that time, I had wanted to write Vern Harnish, who's the CEO of Gazelles, had urged me to write the equivalent of a Bible for sales management. And blogging had just been introduced. And I thought to myself, well, I'm always at the head of the curve and I'm always an early adopter. Yeah. Let me try this blogging thing. And maybe I can write a series of articles and that will become the content for the book. So that was 2006. I've written almost 1,800 articles since then. What I learned is I don't have enough time to write a book, because writing a book really requires that you be able to sit down for 2 or 3 hours at a time and focus and continue the train of thought. And I don't have that anymore. But I do have 20 to 30 minutes that I can follow the train of thought on one thing. So I've blogged 1,800 times, given up on any hope of writing a sales management book because it's all in the blog every which way you could imagine.
Do you write every day? Like, how do you crank out so much sales
I used to
content?
write every day, but I don't have time to do that anymore. So now it's once or twice a week.
Wow. And just since doing this since 1990, like you just have over 1,800 articles and blogs, and then the books. Books, represent hundreds of pages. So, wow. That's incredible, man. Well, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's, right. From Cutco knives to literally doing Sandler training to then running your own company, assessing over 1.8 million people, salespeople. You've learned a lot along your extensive, amazing sales to becoming, to also, let's add in the best-selling author, the radio host, the consultant. There's a lot that has happened here in this man's life. A lot of successes, a lot of failures, a lot of micro secrets. If we had to, sales secrets from the top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. Dave the man. What is your top number one sales secret? If you had to go back in time to when you first started in selling, what is that one thing that you would tell yourself? If you had to hire new people, what's the one thing that you would write down on a piece of paper and give to them to maximize their sales success? If you could only write down one thing, put it in something and give it to someone, and you pass, and they open it up in 10, 20, 50 years. What's that one top sales secret?
Summarize.
Okay.
Some salespeople can listen and ask questions and pull out that information, the problems, the consequences, the cost, and the compelling reason why someone would buy. But hardly anyone is able to summarize what they heard in such a way that they create the kind of urgency that causes somebody to want to do business with you right now and differentiate you from everybody else they've ever spoken with. The ability to succinctly summarize what you've heard and frame it in such a way and tie it up in a bow that other person goes, yes, that's it. You get it. Can you help me? Summarize.
Okay. I makes a lot of sense, because that's a lot of data. You're a data guy. All of that stuff is like a lot of data that you pull out of the customer. So let's just say for example, we did this interview and we did this, we asked a lot of questions, a lot of sales secrets, failures, successes. Now I've got, this will be like 30 pages of transcripts, right?
So, geez, does that sound like a lot of work?
Yeah.
Are you going to have AI transcribe it?
Yeah.
Or are you going to transcribe by hand?
No. Seamless is all AI driven, man. So that happens automatically. Luckily, could you imagine doing that back in 1990 or 95? Like, oh my gosh,
I would
terrible.
dread that. You couldn't stay focused on that.
It's tough.
Too remedial.
Yeah, no, too remedial. But why is summarizing important? How do I summarize? Like, what are the steps to master summarizing?
No, you can't summarize if you didn't listen and ask the right questions. So summarizing is a consequence, a positive consequence of being able to listen and ask questions. And you have to know what to listen for, and you have to know what to ask. But the next question is always going to come from something you just heard. So if there were 3 skills that you absolutely have to develop to become a sales superstar: listen, ask, rinse, repeat, do it 50 times, summarize, create urgency, close the business.
Okay. But when you
summarize. Do we have time?
Oh yeah, no, I got all the time in the world for you, man.
So
I'm not gonna let this slip away, dude. You're a hard guy to get on the calendar, interviewing and assessing millions of salespeople. Like, I'm gonna take this for all the time we got. So go ahead, keep going.
One of the things I introduced in baseline selling, is what I call SOB quality. SOB stands for not what you're thinking. It's
the whole thing's going through my head. I just keep repeating it.
Speed on the bases. Okay, so here's what happens. Great base stealer reaches first base. Everybody knows he's going to steal second. Okay, but the whole game changes when that base stealer reaches first base. The pitcher starts throwing over to first instead of throwing to the hitter. And he's trying to pick him off. He's trying to keep him close. He's trying to tire him out. He's trying to shorten the lead. He's trying to catch him leaning the wrong way. He's distracted. Okay, but eventually he has to pitch. He has to throw a pitch to the batter. Batter has a huge advantage because the batter in the lineup after the base stealer, the number 2 hitter, usually has the best bat control. And the defense changes. First baseman comes in and holds the runner on first. Second baseman comes in closer to second base, double play position, and there's a big hole on the right side of the infield. The number 2 hitter can always push the ball through that hole on the right side of the infield. That's one. Number 2, he knows what pitch is coming. The pitcher will only throw a fastball with that base stealer on base because that's the only pitch that reaches the catcher fast enough to give the catcher a chance to throw that guy out. So huge advantage hitter. Now, with all that going on, the base stealer has successfully gotten the pitcher to pay more attention to him than the hitter. And that's how a base stealer disrupts the defense and supercharges the offense. Now, if we translate that to selling, a salesperson has achieved that same SOB quality, speed on the bases, when he gets his prospect to pay more attention to him than to anybody else. And when a salesperson is really good at listening and asking questions and rinsing and repeating and having the conversation that nobody else ever had and uncovering stuff that nobody else had ever uncovered and summarizing it in such a way that there's urgency and the prospect says, you got to help me.
Wow.
That's the magic of selling.
That's incredible. I love that you tied that all to
that's all laid out
of the bases.
In the book Baseline Selling.
Yeah, Baseline. And it's all these books are on Amazon, guys. So just look up Dave Kurlan, go to Amazon, pick up the books.
Probably have to spell my name.
Kurlan. So DAVE. Thank you for that. Kurlan.
It was important that you told them how to spell Dave because it's not the normal spelling. the S is silent.
So the summary, you have to know how to summarize. Wow. And then what do you do with that though? Like I can summarize that Dave does top, assessments, and he does 1.8 million assessments, and you're trying to sell your assessments to B2B companies. Like, okay, and then what?
Well, do you want me to summarize what I just heard me say?
Yes. Yeah.
Or do you want me to summarize what you're saying?
I think because we're using examples of you, summarize like what you're saying, and then like what would you do with the summary? Like, how do you act on that?
So if I were the salesperson summarizing what you've listened and asked to, at this point, I would probably say something like, so if I understand you correctly, selling is really complex. It's not one thing. And while we can say there's one secret that's more important than anything else, that secret is a chain reaction of secrets. And when we put all of those chain reactions together, and we have a salesperson committed enough to make changes, go through self-development, and develop mastery, they can become a member of that 1%. And you also said that in order to get that to happen, they must be consistent and effective at role-playing for at least 30 minutes a day. And if they don't do that, they're destined to remain in the bottom 50% for life.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yep. Keep going. This is fire. So keep going.
That's it.
Done.
Now, we're not selling anything here, but that would be the summary. As succinctly as possible, wrap it up, tie a bow on it. If we were selling something, there'd probably be some emotional piece, like the consequences of not being able to do this and how it impacts me personally and how bothersome that might be and what I need to do about it. And you'd be able to put that into the summary.
Yeah. And this was incredible. I mean, I love this secret. You got to be able to summarize. And then you also have to be able to probably like close your, like with your solution, offering your solution is the solution to the summary of everything, right?
The in baseline selling, the close is called the inoffensive close because anybody can do it. Yep. And it doesn't offend anybody. It's simply
the inoffensive close, like you're not offending someone. Got it.
Simply culminates in this question. Do you want my help?
That's a good one.
Assuming we properly uncovered a problem and summarized it appropriately. Wow. Do you want my help?
So you summarize it, and then what do you just like after you summarize it? You're just like, so Dave, do you want my help? Or
I skipped over qualifying.
Yeah, but let's just say you qualified. You got the pain. You got the whole, hey, Dave's running this assessment company, 1.8 million. He wants to go from 1.8 to 10 million. These are his problems. You drilled in on those problems. Then I summarize it.
If we go from that perspective, then the summary might be, so you're at 1.8, your BHAG is to go to 14 million and you're running out of time. There's only 7 more years before you want to retire.
Okay.
And if you don't hit that 14 million in 7 years, the legacy you want to have left will evaporate. You want my help?
Got it. And
it would be more like that.
You would identify that I know that Dave is motivated by legacy and servant leadership. So I'm going to tie the value prop and tie everything to that impact that we want to help him make. Because I believe in servant and legacy leadership. Why do you want to leave a legacy? Just curious. Like, why do you even give a damn about a legacy and not just making a shitload of money with your assessments?
Well, I don't care about the legacy, but if I had one, that's what it would sound like.
Got it. What's the goal with the company? Curious. Like, what are your goals?
14 million salespeople assessed. That's the only one that matters.
Is that tied to why is that number? Why that number?
We set a BHAG back in 2008. And at that time, there were 14 million salespeople selling in the United States.
Oh my gosh.
Nice big stretch goal.
You want to, oh my gosh. And if there's anything I know about you, Matt, when you set that goal, like a decade behind, you typically hit it.
So, you know who's better at that than me? My wife.
Yeah. My fiance she outworks me every day of the week. Talent, hard work, intelligence, all the above. That's incredible, man. So lastly, just to wrap up the secret, if I think I'm doing okay with summaries and summarizing and then being able to tie it in with the close and being of value to the prospect with, do you want my help to solve that, to fix, improve, solve that summary? What do you recommend to salespeople to like get great at that secret? Where would they go? What would they do?
A bunch of stuff. One, you can read books, you can read blogs, you can watch videos, you can listen to audios, but it's all knowledge. You've got to get engaged in actual training and get coached. Now, in a best of scenario, your sales manager would be the one to do the coaching, but not everybody has a sales manager that's any good at coaching, that knows how to coach, that can make a difference. Only 7% of all sales managers are any good at coaching.
Wow.
So if the company isn't willing to pay for that for you and provide it for you, dig into your pockets and do what every other professional does and invest in professional development.
Perfect. So you have to basically invest in knowledge management and professional development. If you feel that you're weak on, this top secret of being great at summarizing, and then to be great at summarizing, you just have to be great at all the core competencies that you talked about.
Right.
And those 21 core competencies will be in the footnotes of this transcription.
There'll be a test at the end of this interview.
Wow, man. Dave Kurlan, what an honor. Dave Kurlan, top-rated speaker, best-selling author, radio show host, entrepreneur, sales development, sales assessment expert. My friend, where can everyone...
And in real life, it actually sounds like I know my stuff, doesn't it?
Dude, I think you know a lot more than I got on this podcast, which I'm disappointed for. But where can
you want me to cram 30 years of this?
Dude, I know. Like I'm just like, man, just give me it all. Give me. Where can the audience? They're going to read the chapter. They're going to listen to the podcast and the YouTube and the shows. Where can people find you, connect with you, follow you, and subscribe to more of your great intelligence?
I'm on LinkedIn. You can go to my blog and connect with me there, omghub.com, or can email me, dkurlan and you have two choices, kurlanassociates.com if you're interested in sales development, objectivemanagement.com if you're interested in assessments or selling assessments.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. Dave, thank you so much for all of your time and your top sales secret. I know the audience is going to benefit greatly. And make sure everyone go out, connect with Dave Kurlan, DaveKurlan. He's on LinkedIn. He's got his books in Amazon. He's got his blog, 1,800 articles. Go follow, connect, subscribe today. And thank you, audience, for tuning in to Sales Secrets from the Top 1%, where the world's best sales experts share their secrets to sales success. Order your copy of the book at secretsalesbook.com, secretsalesbook.com, secretsalesbook.com. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Sales Secrets from the Top 1%. We release new episodes every Monday and Thursday, so make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube to never miss an episode.